pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council meeting is called to order. Call for roll call.
Mayor Ridenhour.
Here.
Earl.
Here.
Knox.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Neely. Newland.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Minutes of the previous meeting were read, approved. So approved. Fiscal officer report.
$1,605,865.61 in all funds, $219,985.74 in the general fund.
Any additions?
No additions this time.
Bills were read, resolution 18-6-1 was adopted on motion by. Chevy.
Earl.
Yes.
Newland.
Yes.
Knox.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Neely.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to the guest section. We have one, R.C. White, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
You have 5 minutes, please.
I sent all of you, I think, some information. Do you all have the petition that you want to file with the clerk tonight? Petition to vacate the alley that's back of the subdivision that was Crown Hill. My name is Bob Weisman. I'm sorry to introduce myself. And I've been contacted by some of the property owners, and they explained to me that there was maybe some confusion, misunderstanding, whatever, as to the location of an alley that was adjacent to the back of the Crown Hill subdivision. And I'm talking about Murray Street and then the subdivision and the alley back of there. So I want to file this with you this evening so that we can start the process. Excuse me. So we'll put this on record, right? File it.
Okay.
And to support the petition, let's just take a minute to read it. I think you'll all know what I'm talking about, but it says the undersigned owners of lots situated in the village of Waynesfield and the immediate vicinity of a certain alley described as follows: a 16-foot alley to the south of Mulberry Street, adjacent to the rear property line of the following owners and running east and west. This alley was platted in April of 1918, was never improved for travel. The entire alley from its west terminus to its east terminus is to be vacated. All the property owners have signed that are adjacent to Mulberry Street. And then certain notices need to be given. The property owners are consenting to the vacation. Isn't that attached as the last part of that petition?
Yes.
Okay. So no one that's on the alley has any objections to the vacation of that alley. The memorandum that I want to leave to you also is a reason why it should be vacated. And do you all have the memorandum? Is that what we're going to do? So I want to file this one with you. And I understand, Mayor, that it's 5 minutes. I hope that I don't cause any problems, but I want to try to go over this. The main reason is the original plat of Crown Hill located in the alley was acknowledged and accepted by the village in April of 1918 with a resolution passed by council, and the platted alley, to the best of our knowledge, was never opened or used for approximately 100 years. There is an alternate alley access for all the property owners. This alternate alley has been used for at least 21 years and provided all the access and egress to the property owners as well as to the village utility purposes. A survey is done by Binkley Land Surveying LLC to locate the current alley. All necessary property owners have given their consent to the abandonment of the platted alley and the establishment of a current alley. Therefore, the alternate alley as described below can be platted and recorded as the new official alley. Now, I just got from Mr. Binkley today what he wants to include, and we'll probably have to do adverse possession to this property, because the research that we have done to date indicates that Adkins really owned all that area out there, and that when Adkins' chain of title started, it gave certain measurements, and it measured from that railroad right away, and as it measured up towards the Crown Alley, or Crown Addition subdivision there was certain length of measurement given. And then when Crown Hill was placed where it is, there was a gap between the two. And that was the gap area that was used, as we believe, all these years by the village and by the city, or the village and the people there. And tonight, I came a little early, and I drove down there, and you can see, you probably all know where it is, because it's right over here, it's a blacktop alley. People are using it, propane tanks are sitting around there, and everybody seems to be satisfied with the location of it. It was my understanding that you were considering relocating that alley, and I don't know what you all were gonna do with that, but if you did, there would be a disruption of what's been going on for 100 years, it seems like. And so we were hoping that you would consider the fact that the survey you have, I don't think it's proves anything as to land ownership. And I think it's Mayor Ridenauer has the land to the adjacent to it on the other side, because that narrow strip that was in there was not included in his chain of title that we could find. So the survey I think you have was one that the Bacon survey, and I haven't talked to Mr. Bacon, so I can't say for sure, but talking with Mr. Bacon and looking at the area, it looks like that he measured and then went up far enough to reach the Crown Hill platted alley, and then made that his survey. But there's nothing to support that. The actual chain of title doesn't support the measurement that he used to get from the old right-of-way of the railroad up to Crown Hill. It didn't go up to Crown Hill. So my memorandum goes on then to say that this open alley that's been used by the owners of lot 6 to 17 has been maintained by you folks or the village. That it's open, notorious, exclusive use by the property owners, because the other people that was, we can't adversely possess against your village platted alley. So when your original Crown Hill went on, even though it wasn't open, it wasn't blacktop, it wasn't used, it was still there. But people didn't use it. They went down and used the one where they're using now. So we're asking you to vacate that one that was never used for 100 years. Now, when you vacate it, then you say, well, how do you get to use the one that we're using? Well, that's the one that we say is adverse possession. That land that that alley sits on belongs to all the people in Crown Hill. So you take everybody's lot and you add the alley and then you add enough distance to it that it meets the original description of the chain of title that went to Mayor Ridenhour's piece of ground. And then I think it will all be consistent as to what's been going on for 100 years. So what we're talking about is what's been filed and recorded left a gap. And the Atkinson family still owns it. So what we'll probably have to do is give notice in the newspaper that if there's anybody that came from the Atkinson family that wants to claim this strip of ground, they're going to have to show some right to claim it, because it's been used by the people on the Crown Hill subdivision. All of those lot owners have put their driveway in there, have moved, used that as their ingress and egress. They got tanks sitting there and stuff like that. And I believe that the Ohio law is, all over the state of Ohio, is that in 21 years, you use it openly, notoriously, against everybody else's rights, for 21 years or longer, then it becomes your property by adverse possession, and that requires a court hearing. That requires the court to decide that you did in fact use it for those 21 years, and you used it against anybody else's claim to it, that you used it adversely as your property. And so if you use it as your property and nobody else disputes it for 21 years or longer, even though you don't have a deed to it, the court can order it to be your property. So that would be the second step. So to look at the whole picture, what we have with today is we have a platted alley that nobody uses. It's in grass. I think there's some little buildings on it. I think there's propane tanks on it. It's just the part of everybody's backyard on Crown Hill. And then somebody decided that the alley that's there would be used. They blacktopped it and they've been using it. And that's what we're saying it should be, because that's what's been going on for the last 100 years. So if you see it that way, then you would find that what we're trying to do is merely just justify and make it possible that there won't be any more confusion about this piece of ground, that when the Atkins sold it to the school, I think they sold it to the school, and it was never used there. And then the subdivision, Crown Hill, was put there, but the two didn't touch each other. And there was a space there. And that's the space we're talking about, that people used as an alley. And nobody ever used the one that was platted, because it was supposed to be opened at the death of Mrs. Atkinson somewhere. And it just never happened. So since it never happened, then why would we go back and reconstruct 100 years of use, is what we're saying. Does that make sense to everybody, what we're talking about? So, if you understand it, that was the reason why I wanted to come this evening and speak to you about it. One other thing that I was able to bring with me here tonight was what Mr. Binkley, the surveyor, brought to me, and said this may be a little helpful. I'm going to just lay this up here close enough that you can maybe see. That one, yeah, you guys, let's do this so that we can all have a little view. This is a better picture than that one. What this one has here, you can see the area. Let's put north to the top. And you can see these are the lots in Crown Hill. And this area here is the area that, at the very top of it, was the platted subdivision of Crown Hill. This is the one that nobody ever used. The crosshatched area is the area that nobody ever claimed. That when they sold this, when the Atkinson family sold this, it went from a measurement down here up to this point and stopped, and then it went across this way here. And back, and it didn't go back, they just said, here's what we're getting rid of. Crown Hill developed, and Crown Hill planted itself here, but nobody ever got the crosshatch area. So we went back to 1918 and tried to find something that would help explain that, but basically that's all we can find so far. That's 100 years. What I think happened is the survey that you have from Bacon, that he went down here and went far enough up to hit this alley, and then to describe what he was looking at, and said, that's, that belongs to this tract here, which is Mr. Reinhardt's tract. That's not true. It just never was a part
Can
of
I ask
it.
a question for clarification?
Sure.
The grass area south of all the properties on Mulberry, I think it's 16 feet wide.
Yes, there's a question about
And
16.
Bacon surveyed that for us. That's not in dispute. Is that correct?
It is in dispute, yes.
No, I mean, it's not, its validity is not in dispute.
The 16 grass foot, the
Yes.
16-foot
That
area.
is the village platted alley. Is that correct? That's what I'm asking.
That's
for.
right, that's in the
So
that's
that's
in the
not-
Crown Hill subdivision.
So that's
And that's
not-
what we're asking you
yeah,
guys to
To
be.
vacate, but that's not in, because of the questions about records and points, but that piece of property is not in dispute.
That's correct. That
Okay,
is
I
correct.
just want that for clarification.
That's correct. That area that you just described, and on this one, it's kind of the clear area, it doesn't have marks in it. That was the Crown Hill. And that was platted, you guys passed a resolution and adopted it. At that point, people were gonna build houses and they used these lots, but nobody ever put the alley in.
I was just asking for a clarification on that grass, because that's the alley that we have. That's our property that we would be considering to vacate.
The village property.
Yes.
It would have been platted, and you would have adopted the resolution, and that's what you would be.
Currently, it's our right of way. It's our alley.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. And that's what you're asking for vacation of.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's been adversely possessed, but with the village, you can't adverse.
I just wanted to qualify, because it sounded like you continually mentioned discrepancies in records and survey points. I just wanted to make sure that what we are identifying as our alley that's platted, that even though it's in grass, that's the footprint we're talking about is correct.
Absolutely, because it has nothing to do with the vacant survey.
That's all I was asking.
It was the plat of Crown Hill, that's right. And that's not in dispute at all. That Crown Hill was adopted, you accepted it.
Well, I mean, since then, we did a survey because I forwarded it to your office, and you've accepted that survey, which was also by Bacon.
I didn't accept any survey that came from Bacon. This is in the plat.
Well,
Crown
your
Hill.
office asked for the documents we had at the time,
Okay, whatever you sent us, sure. we looked
and that
at it.
was what was surveyed as the platted alley. And that's our understanding is what is the village's platted alley, which is what you're asking to be vacated. I just wanted to clarify that it's not in dispute, the survey pins and points of it. That's all I'm asking.
No, I don't know whether the pins are all placed where they should be, because I know there's been questions about those pins. There is questions, and we'd have to have our surveyors, because the pins, it's hard to locate. We can draw them on paper, but when we go out to locate them in the field, it's hard to find.
That's why
them.
we hired a surveyor to do that, as you did.
Yes, and I'm not sure, well, there's two surveyors, and I'm not sure what, there's the three, okay.
Maybe four.
Okay, well, whatever. It's confusing.
Sure.
There's no question.
I just wanted to make sure that we're understanding that the platted area that you're asking for vacation is not in dispute. based on the information we sent your office and what you're asking for, because I'm not seeing it. So I was just asking for
Oh,
clarification.
okay.
I was just asking for clarification.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
you're telling me it is, it's okay.
I guess what I want to really say to you is the Crown Hill plat has a platted alley on it that measures 16 feet. But when the surveyors go out to find it, the discrepancy of whether it's 16 and a half feet and where it's exactly located out in the field is not easy to tell. But on the paper, it's clearly so many feet in the lots and then that 16-foot alley. But when you go out and try to find pins to match up, it don't all match.
True. But surveyors are like attorneys. Everybody has an opinion of what's exact.
And that's why I told everybody, the next step is to have a court decide what's the right answer. And so I'm asking you guys not to be tearing up the one you have and doing something with the ones that's in grass until we all fully understand how it should be and what's best for the people and the village.
Sure.
Not what's,
Agreed.
not what's gonna cause more problems, but what's gonna resolve this equitably, fairly with everybody. And that's the whole deal. It's not to cause bigger problems, there are problems. Okay, so hopefully that gives you all a picture of what we're talking about and what we intend to happen. And so, I will finish up then with what I said in my memorandum, and that was, I started saying in number 4, proof of recognition of the open and used alley can be found in the legal description of the deed of the executors of Fay Holbert and the administrators of the estate of Lucille Howell to G. Lynn Pence and Jill E. Pence, dated in 1989. And also the legal description and joint survivorship deed from Pence to Michael Reitnauer and Beverly Reitnauer. Those descriptions, I'm saying, prove there's a gap there. The open and used alley has been recognized since August 28th of 1975 by Clayton Stimmel, the county engineer, as set forth in the Stimmel plat. And I said, see attached, and that was what I attached to you. So, just to say, you know, of all this confusion that's going on, if we can shed some light on it and all kind of agree, reach a point that satisfies everybody, that will be monumental, and maybe we can do it, you know, we'll try. 5 says the legal title holder of the adverse possession is believed to be Susan and Evan Atkinsons, who at this time are unknown. So who do I think owns that piece of ground? Is those heirs, whoever they are, of Susan and Evan Atkinson, because it did not match up. Surveying those days wasn't as accurate as it is now. And number 6, the lot owners of Crown Hill will file an adverse possession proceedings in the Always County Common Pleas Court to establish their adverse ownership to the area of the currently used alley within the next 60 days. So hopefully you can see that I'm not trying to pull any wool on anybody's eyes. I want to get an answer as you want an answer, as these property owners want an answer. And to get that answer, we're probably going to have to take all these confusion, all these ideas that people have, and questions and comments, and let a judge make a decision. And finally he'll say, what is adverse possession? What isn't adverse possession? Where is the alley? What survey do you rely upon? And everything. I just didn't want you to vacate it yet until we find out whether the other one will work for everybody, because the other one's already there. And so and I'm not gonna drag it on for years. I'm telling you, the next 60 months or 60 days, we'll file something. And that should, you know, that should give everybody a chance to have their day in court, so to speak. So, we've done a lot of work on it. I'm sure other people have done a lot of work too. So, does anybody have any further questions?
At this time, I would suggest that because these deal with the pending matters related to pending litigation, any discussion about this topic among council members needs to happen at an executive session.
I'll make a motion, we come to executive session to discuss possible litigation.
Miller,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Pearl,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
I'd like to include Fred Rowe in that executive session meeting also, being the village administrator.
You're the village administrator? Okay, I didn't know you were.
So you tell me that I got your email.
Kevin.